Donington Park, a track that has been so close to being the home of British motorsport on several occasions, hosting Group C, GT1 and the American Le Mans series covering endurance racing, hosting the European Grand Prix in '93 and putting a bid in to be the British Grand Prix from 2010. However, since then, it's been mostly national racing. Let's see how this iconic circuit holds up to some hypercars. Here we go then, this is the second round of finding a home for the World Endurance Championship in the UK to race on, as we lose position already to the Alpine as we understeer off at Redgate. Yeah, I have a feeling this is going to be a very, very fun race. It's, I'd say, qualifying, if there was anything to go by, it's going to be incredibly quick. I mean, we're doing sub-minute laps because, as the Ferrari goes off in front of us, off the bat we're using the national circuit and not the Grand Prix loop, only because, Kubica dies up the inside there as we get a good run on this Alpine. I think we're going to have to go 3 wide here, and we make it work, gain that position back. Yeah, the only reason why now we're turning right at the chicane, not left, is because this is a modded version of Donington where it allows me to have all 37 cars from the 2024 WEC season, which meant if I did use the GP loop, the cars were starting sort of off the circuit and I'd lose half the GT3 field. So just to make sure that all the IA get a fair run, we'll be using national. And to be fair, or I should say, I do kind of prefer the national circuit, only because I'm not particularly good at the Melbourne hairpin or Goddard's coming back onto the start-finish straight, although it's questionable whether how good I am at the Roberts chicane. But yeah, I say it creates such as we oversteer there. So I mentioned about the handling of this car. But yeah, it just creates such a fast-flowing circuit. You don't really get a break, as I completely mess up the chicane, as I said I was questionable at doing. Yeah, so we're doing sort of, I think if I'm not doing low 59s, I'm going to start falling back down the pack fairly quickly. I mean, those guys have already run off. But like I always say, AI aren't the greatest at overtaking other AI, so hopefully I should make some places back when we hit traffic. Donington's definitely been through the thick of it. I say it's been so close to just sort of being the home of British motorsport, but just sort of falling short every time. It's not. I say it's not Donington's fault, obviously, as a circuit, nothing to do with it. But so unfortunately, deals have just not worked out, and it's sort of left it in not a good place. However, it's definitely thriving now. And like I said in the intro, it's certainly one of the more realistic opportunities for the WEC to race at instead of Silverstone. We've got Kubica all over the back of us, so I really need to start putting in some good lap times. About this car, I'm not in the Cadillac as I was last week. This is the Lamborghini CS63, which is doing relatively okay in the current WEC season. So I mess up the chicane once again, and I say this car isn't the fastest thing in a straight line. Unfortunately, it does suffer. Let's make a light contact there. It does suffer with the Assetto Corsa uncatchable oversteer. Certainly the base setup, it's just sort of through any speed corner, at any sort of angle of lock, and any amount of acceleration, the back end will just slide and it will keep sliding. And I say Assetto Corsa is sort of notorious for, once the back end steps out, it kind of just keeps going. Not to say that my driving skills obviously have nothing to do with it, probably do as well, but I say this car is definitely, I've had to set it up to be a lot more understeery, but I'd rather being able to deal with understeer than not being able to catch oversteer. And who wants to have a video of me driving through gravel? I don't think any of you do, so but otherwise incredibly good mod. I say it's a very, very nice car to drive once you set up properly. Yeah, so before we really get into this race, I just want to quickly look at the results from last week's Brands Hatch 1000 kilometers, which if you want to watch, do click the link above. But otherwise, spoiler alert, this is the results for round 1, as we get a good run on Kubica there, and excellent, a nice opportunistic move. As we quickly look back at the previous race I did last week, the 1000 kilometers of Brands Hatch, it was a very good outing for the 963s. They're very competitive, 3 in the top 5, and an all-British podium there, which is always good to see at Brands. It was a very good outing for the Peugeots and the Alpines, having both cars finishing in the top 10. As we make our way down, uncharacteristically, the Toyotas are right down there, towards the bottom, as well as the Cadillac, which showed good pace, but unfortunately couldn't finish the race. And the GT3s, again a very good race for the Corvette Z06s. Always good to see an Aston Martin up there as well in third. A very good outing for the Lexuses, having both cars finishing in the top 10, as well as the Mustangs as well. Again, Porsches, not likely to see them down that far. McLaren's could do picking up some pace, as well as the Ferraris, who both failed to finish the race. So we'll see if they can get some points this weekend. I've fiddled with the BOP, so I say in qualifying the LM GT3s are all within a second of each other. Makes it nice and competitive, and again with the hypercars, they're sort of within, I think, 1.5 seconds. So it's a very, very tight grid. But again, each track I'll just sort of keep improving it. I know those Lamborghinis are slightly off the pace, even though they are within a second in race pace, they're a bit slower. But I was saying that actually, behind Dames there, they're doing quite well. I guess now is as good a time as any to talk about the history of Donington. It started off as service roads to the Donington estate, which I think is on our left somewhere. It was mainly used for motorbike racing in the 30s, just on paved roads, and then because of global events, nothing really happened until the 70s. The Wheatcroft family, Tom Wheatcroft, sort of turned it into a purpose-built racing facility, which obviously enticed a load of new series to come visit. So by the 80s you had the British touring cars, you had Group C, and then in the 90s obviously you had the European Grand Prix, which was Senna's lap of the gods moment in the wet, starting from 5th or 6th I think, and obviously overtaking everyone by the end of the lap in the wet. And then in the noughties you had the sort of rise and fall of the GT1 endurance races from 99 to the 2000s, and again mid-2000s, 2002, 2004, as well as the DTM also came over sort of that time period, and also the American Le Mans series, which I say that was the start of their series, deciding to come come to Donington. Anyways, we've got quite a few LM GT3 cars up ahead. Cadillac gets it all wrong. Hopefully we can capitalise on this and get a good run out of this. But yeah, sort of all those events really showing that Donington was, you know, on the world stage. It was sort of ready to take on any racing series. I say, especially this complex of corners coming down Hollywood through the crane of curves, and then at the old hairpin, you could really get this right, which I've gone a little bit wide, but I can still cope with the speed. And then through this bit, it's just such a fast and flowing circuit. It's really the same for driving it. It's fantastic. Corvette tries to go in the outside of a hybrid car, but yeah, as I say, Donington was sort of a present on the world stage by the mid-noughties, having sort of everyone, all the race series racing there, and then talks began of potentially hosting the British Grand Prix at Donington. It all came about Silverstone not having the infrastructure anymore to host the British Grand Prix, so Bernie Eccleston essentially gave Silverstone an ultimatum. Really, it was update the infrastructure or go somewhere else, and this talk started happening with Donington, and they designed a track, and it, to be fair, actually it looked pretty good. I mean, they kept all the iconic corners untouched really, and they just sort of created a new infield circuit. So as you come up to, as you came coming up to now, you tend to have to go to the Melbourne hairpin, and as you have you dial inside the Porsche, nice and clean, given space. Yeah, as you come out of Goddard's there, you'd have a sort of infield section on the right hand side, just on the where the start finish straight is here, and then it'll join back up at Wreckgate and sort of keep this section all untouched. So it was sort of adding a modern sector to quite a classic circuit, which I think would have worked out pretty well. So as Donington started to develop and put money into redesigning the circuit, Silverstone also went, yeah, actually we'll redo our infrastructure. And as it turned out, the Donington owners at the time didn't quite have the cash. I think there was something else going on as well, but ultimately the deadline got nearer and nearer, and Donington were not ready, and Silverstone said, oh no, we are ready now. So sort of Bernie's ultimatum to Silverstone, I guess, kind of worked for him really. I think it was an empty threat to sort of get them to spend money they didn't want to spend. So yeah, so the Grand Prix stayed at Silverstone, and they got their deal from 2010 for 17 years, and Donington was left for the face down really. Owners went to administration, and eventually got bought back out by the Whitcroft family, or they got bought back, or because they were the previous owners. That's just how that works. But they immediately sort of put money back into the circuit, update the venue, the experience of coming to Donington. And obviously since 2010 it's sort of just been national racing, so British touring cars, British GT, obviously you've got British superbikes, as well as any grassroots and historic events as well. But like I said before, honestly, Donington looks to be the only real contender. Seeing as the F1 nearly went here, it certainly has, let's say, the bare bone structure to be able to host global events, and it has done in the past before. Like we said, you know, the American Le Mans series, it hosted DTM, obviously it hosted the 93 European Grand Prix. Anyway, so it's a circuit that would need again a bit of financial injection, but would the WEC want to come here? I mean, if we look at all the things we looked at Brands Hatch, you know, crowd capacity, I think it's 120,000, so that's more than enough. As well as being able to get to the circuit location. I mean, it's a stone's throw away from East Midlands Airport. In fact, in the mirror you can probably see it behind us. And again, is the circuit big enough? Well, actually, I thought there'd be a little bit more traffic, but actually, you say it's a much bigger circuit than Brands. And because it is so quick, you do have the momentum to be able to pass traffic with ease. As I clip a little bit of the grass on the inside there. Yeah, and again, the other stipulations, you know, it's only a grade 2, but again, how much would you need to make it a grade 1? I say there's plenty of space compared to Brands. Certainly the pits are big enough. Again, even with the GP loop and the Melbourne hairpin, it probably would still be quite a quick lap time, and that would also help with traffic as well, with some of the slower corners. Right, as we come up to some lap traffic here, I think we're going to do a little... Oh, as we've got the leader there, he's been hit, and... Okay. Well, I think we're in first place. I don't know that Porsche's second, but... I was going to say, I'll take you on a little track guide. So, as we come down to Red Gate, brake just after the pit exit. So we've got the Porsche on the inside of us. And he's overtaken us. But we'll see if we can get back down through Hollywoods. And then sweeping left of Craner curves, and then you've got to pick your braking point for the old hairpin, clip the curb nicely. Past Darkey's Bridge. Oh, as we both went to the inside of McLaren now. As we clip the grass at McLean's. And use all the curb. And then come up to sort of the two-part of Coppice, which I never get right, and the Lamborghini always wants to oversteer out of. And then down the straight, and then if you're going to do the GP loop, you turn left at the chicane through the Fokker TS's, but we're going to go through the Roberts chicane and back onto the start finish straight for hopefully what should be a sub-minute lap, which we didn't do. So that was quite a slow lap actually. That's 1 minute 1. Like I said, you know, the AI can easily do 59-second laps. But yeah, I think the Cadillac was first place. I think I just need to keep it clean now for the last couple of laps. I'd say that was maybe 2 or 3 laps away from the end. Like I said, you know, the AI sort of towards the end of the race sort of just seemed to be a bit clumsy. I don't know if that actually is the case, or just sort of happens to be, you know, you get a collection of car parks around the circuit when they go off and don't reset, which is a shame. But it is a 10-year-old game, so it works incredibly well for that age. Well, as we begin our final lap, is Donington a realistic choice? Absolutely. I mean, I say it's got the history, it's had endurance races in the past, it's proven multi-class can work around here, and certainly this race, I say, its traffic has been a lot better than expected, even without using the Grand Prix loop, which certainly I think they would definitely use, but it also shows actually the shorter national circuit could work as well. And it'd be cool actually if there was a mod for the proposed British Grand Prix layout in 2010, because again I think that would also work as well. And there we have it. I was saying the roughly 500 kilometres of Donington, maybe a little bit longer, but I say because of the national circuit, incredibly quick lap time. So I'll try and get the GP one working at some point. But yeah, so we look at the results of that. I mean, there's a very good outing for the Alpines this time, very much like the quicker circuits. And again, Toyota's good to see them back up in the top 10. Unfortunately, this time Porsche's not a great day for them. I say they spent more time on the gravel traps, I think, than anyone else. If you look through to the GT3, let's say the Porsche's gained some speed, so it's good to see them up there with BMW as well. And the Lambos are certainly a bit quicker. Unfortunately, again, the Ferraris have again not finished a race. But what do you think? Do you think the WEC should come to Donington? Let me know in the comments. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll catch you next time.